It first flew in April 1952. The Air Force intends to fly it into the 2050s. That is 100 years of one airplane, and every crew that flies it now is younger than the airframe they sit in. 4 aircraft were built to replace the B-52. Every one of them will be gone before it is. This is not a story about a good airplane. It is a story about what happens to the clever ones. The requirement was written on the 23rd of November, 1945. A bomber that could carry out the strategic mission without depending on bases in anyone else's country. Fly from America, reach the Soviet Union, come home. On the 21st of October, 1948, a team of Boeing engineers took a turboprop design into a meeting at the Hotel Van Cleve in Dayton, Ohio, and Colonel Pete Worden told them he wanted it with jets instead. They went back to the hotel and worked through the night. By late the following day, they had drawn an essentially new aeroplane, 35-degree swept wings, 8 engines paired into 4 pods, and bicycle landing gear with little outrigger wheels near the tips. That is the aircraft that is still flying. The wing is so long and so flexible that on a static test airframe, the tip traveled 32 feet between its lowest and highest loaded positions. It sags on the ground and straightens in the air. There is no cleverness in any of it. Boeing did not build a sophisticated bomber. They built a very large one over a weekend, and largeness turned out to be the thing that mattered. 744 were made. The last came off the line in 1962. Everyone involved understood it was interim. The replacement was already being drawn. That replacement was the Convair B-58 Hustler, a delta wing, 4 engines, and Mach 2 in level flight, which made it the first supersonic bomber anyone put into service. It carried its weapon in a pod slung under the fuselage because there was no room inside for one. It looked like it had arrived from a later decade than the one it flew in. The trouble was that it could not do the job. It carried less. It could not go as far without tankers. It was punishing to fly and brutally expensive to keep in the air. And it needed a crew of 3 sitting in separate compartments who could barely see one another. It entered service in 1960. It was retired on the 31st of January, 1970. 10 years, and then the whole fleet was gone. The airplane it had been built to replace was by then 8 years past its final delivery and settling into a service life that is still running. The second attempt went further. The North American XB-70 Valkyrie was designed to cruise at Mach 3 at 70,000 feet on a simple theory. Fly high enough and fast enough, and nothing can reach you. It was an extraordinary piece of engineering. The wingtips folded down in flight to trap the aircraft's own shockwave underneath the wing and ride on it, which is a thing no airplane had done before. It worked. It reached Mach 3.08. It got to 74,000 feet, and on one flight in May 1966, it held Mach 3 for 32 minutes. Then the Soviet Union fielded surface-to-air missiles that could reach that high, and the theory collapsed while the aircraft was still being built. It never entered service. 2 prototypes were completed. One of them was lost in a mid-air collision with a chase aircraft in June 1966. The other flew research flights and then went to the Air Force Museum in Ohio in 1969, where it still is. NASA flew what was left of the program out of Edwards and photographed it obsessively, which is why there is more film of an aircraft that never served than there is of some that did. Here is the pattern, and it is the whole argument. Every replacement was optimized for one specific way of reaching the target. The B-58 was optimized for speed at altitude. The XB-70 was optimized for more speed at more altitude. When the surface-to-air missile made altitude lethal, doctrine moved down to low level, and that is where the numbers become brutal. Down in the weeds, the XB-70 could manage about Mach 0.95. It was barely faster than a B-52 at the same height. Everything that made it exceptional lived above 60,000 feet, and there was nothing left of it below. The B-52 had never been optimized for anything in particular, and that turned out to be a design feature nobody intended. When high-level penetration stopped working, it went low instead, which is not what a wing that flexes 32 feet was drawn for, and it did it anyway. When low level stopped working, it stood off outside the defenses and launched cruise missiles. When the Cold War ended, it carried conventional bombs, and it has been doing that ever since. It was never specialized, so there was never a specialization to become obsolete. A general aircraft outlived 4 specialized ones, and it outlived them precisely because it was never as good as any of them at the one thing they were built for. The pattern held twice more. The B-1 Lancer arrived as a swing wing, low-level supersonic penetrator, the answer to the problem that killed the Valkyrie. The Air Force now plans to retire the fleet across the 2028 to 2032 financial years, with the last expected gone by 2036. The B-2 Spirit arrived as the stealth answer, at roughly $2 billion each. America planned 132 of them and built 21, and 19 are left. It is due to be replaced by the B-21 Raider, and that handover has already slipped more than once. Both aircraft, when they finally go, will hand their work back to the aeroplane they were built to replace. 76 B-52s remain in service. Because the Air Force is not retiring it, it is re-engining it. The program replaces all 8 Pratt & Whitney TF-33 engines, a design that entered service on the B-52 in 1961, with the Rolls-Royce F-130, which is the military version of an engine flying on business jets today. The design review cleared in December 2024, after more than 2 years of work. In May 2026, the Air Force cleared the program to move onto a prototype aircraft and into flight testing. The new engines give comparable thrust with better fuel efficiency, better reliability, and more electrical power, which in practice means fewer tanker sorties and less time on the ground. New engines on an airframe drawn over one night in a hotel in 1948, bought so that it can fly for another 30 years. 744 were built. The last was delivered in 1962. The youngest B-52 in service is older than almost everyone who maintains it, and in a good number of cases, older than their parents. The Air Force has spent 70 years trying to replace this aircraft. It built a supersonic bomber and retired the whole fleet after 10 years. It built a Mach 3 bomber that flew beautifully and never entered service, and put the survivor in a museum. It built a swing wing bomber and a stealth bomber, and it is now planning the end of both. And the aircraft that all 4 were built to replace is the one it keeps buying new engines for. It first flew in 1952. It is expected to still be flying in the 2050s. Nobody set out to build an aeroplane that would last 100 years. They set out to build one that was big enough, and then never managed to find anything better.